Welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time since I've done an actual video, but here we are. The Boston Cavalry win the championship, and this will be the season and series review. The series is not over. We are going into our 16th season, and we're going to be leaving behind Boston after 3 crazy aggressive seasons to win a championship. Jackson Thomas, who we selected, I believe, as an undrafted quarterback, has grown into a spectacular talent, and Cameron Scalone and that staff has really made a very high quality team in Boston that a lot of teams are going to have trouble facing every season. Now, we're leaving because I want a new challenge. Now, the team that will replace Boston will be released at the end of the video. But for right now, we're going to go over the Season 15 review and awards. Here is the Season 15 review here. Now, like I said, the champion was the Boston Cavalry. The worst team in the league was the Sacramento Wolves. They have some really good talent on that team. They just can't get anything going. The most improved team in the league is the Miami Bullheads, with that awesome defense headed by linebacker Ross Jones. MVP is linebacker Ahmad Rice for the Boston Cavalry. Him alone coming back from injury completely changed that defense. They had 2 early losses in the season due to injuries, and when Rice came back, they were unstoppable. And the Rookie of the Year is Isaac Taylor Johnson of the Bullheads. He's one of the best running backs to ever come out. He started off slow, and as the season progressed, he got better and better. Now, there was a lot of storylines throughout the whole entire season. If you wanted to get caught up on them, go down in the description down below and go to the Discord, to where there's a weekly news part of the Discord where you can actually read all the weekly news. Also, there's things for other series, and there's a draft player poll where you could put your name of your player, and I will make them next season. But now let's get to the draft lottery for the season. We've done it kind of like this in the past seasons, but now you're actually going to be able to see the actual lottery. And also remember that the Brooklyn Hawks have now changed their name to the Brooklyn Bulls. You guys could have voted on it, and that was in the description down below, and it was a tie, so I picked the Bulls. Now, the Wolves have 3 picks in this draft, which means each pick has about 20% chance of hitting the number 1 pick, so they have a 60% chance of getting the first overall pick. The Firebirds have a 15% chance, the Flight have a 10% chance, and the Hawks have a 5.5% chance, and it gets lower and lower throughout people who have available draft picks this season. Now, we're going to see who will get the first 10 picks, and then we're going to see, I believe, the next 10 picks, and then we'll see the last 2 picks of the draft lottery. Now, the draft won't take place until next week, but until then, hopefully this first part of the off season is good enough. Have had a hard time with this off season, especially because I have an idea for a new season, or new series I should say, in NFL 2K23 on 2K5, which will be coming out soon as well. So hopefully there will be more content on the channel, at least still a video every week. Now let's get to the draft lottery. Somehow the Bulls, the former Hawks, get the number 1 pick. They have a lot of hype going into this season, especially moving to Brooklyn full-time and turning into the Bulls with new ownership. It's going to be cool to see. Number 2 is to the Wolves. They somehow blew a 60% chance in the lottery and still end up with number 2 in the draft. Firebirds, even though they didn't do great last year, they do have a lot of promise in quarterback Mike Cox from YouTube. So hopefully the Firebirds can really upgrade this team with this high overall pick. Number 4, the Wolves. They still need, like I said, a lot of work on that roster to really fill it up. Number 5 is the Chicago Tigers, who were one of the best teams in the league. They somehow fell out of the playoffs very early on. It was very surprising. But here they are at number 5, which for a team like that, that's a really good pick, and this can really turn up this dynasty another gear. Number 6 is the DC Demons, who are in the midst of a weird rotation, I guess, of ideas in the organization, and they're going to need some more talent, especially because they're starting to age dramatically. The Milwaukee Blackbirds, who used to have the best defense of all time, has fallen to very bad lows, other than quarterback Mike Fine, who's been very good for them, very surprisingly, too. Number 8 is the Tigers again. They have 2 top 10 draft picks, and they're one of the best teams in the league. Wolves again at number 9. We've already gone over them. And then number 10 is the Las Vegas Lightning, who they have a very surprising team. Drew Lowry came from developmental and has come out of nowhere being one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. He lacks a lot of arm strength, but man, he places that ball perfectly right where it needs to be, and he's already one of the best quarterbacks. I mean, just a couple years away, and all of a sudden he comes back the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Very surprising, and they have a top 10 pick, so hopefully the Lightning can really make a good season out of this offseason. So now we're to the next set of picks. Number 11 are the Denver Flight, which they had a really high percentage chance to actually get the number 1 pick, and they fall all the way to number 11. That's heartbreaking. I mean, they have a solid quarterback in Patrick Anderson, but he's aging. They lost a really good defender in Deshaun Elliott, who's now full-time at wide receiver. They have a good right side of the O-line, but a bad blind side for Patrick Anderson. They have a opening at running back that they need to fill. They have just depth issues that is very surprising to see in Denver, because they've been one of the best teams the past few years. The New York Guardians are at number 12. They had a solid season last year. Neve Watts still is surprising at his age and all the injuries he's had. He's still somehow the most accurate quarterback, or one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. Number 13, the LA Monarchs. Chris Young, being the owner, coach, and quarterback, has been playing real well, but he's actually benching himself next season because he said his oldest son, whose name is Bryce Young, but he goes by Bubba Young sometimes, or BY, or really anything, really, is going to be starting, and that team is pretty jacked. I mean, with some really big players for that team. I think they have a really good, solid future in the West. Next is the Bullheads. They had a surprising year last year with a great running back, great defense, and it's only going to get better. Number 15 is DC Demons again. Now, it's going to get weird because a lot of this, especially at the end of this draft, you're going to see, especially one team for sure, have a lot of draft picks, and it's because this is after the trades are already put in. There was trades before the draft, and there's going to be trades after the draft. So, like, the lotteries already happened, and some of these trades were happening on that night. Like I continued, number 16 is the Gladiators. They were a really good team that made a couple trades to get some more picks. Number 17 is the Bears. They have a solid framework of a team. They just need more talent. Number 18 is the Philadelphia Revolution, who kind of have fallen in this draft, sadly. Same thing with the Sailors. Sailors, one of the worst teams in the league. They really need a lot of help, especially at that quarterback position. I mean, Rashawn Derricks is good, but he lacks elite arm talent. Number 20 is the Hogs. They made it all the way to the championship game on fair but bad quarterback talent. They had quarterback DJ Parker, who came back from retirement. He played pretty well, but like I said, it was middling quarterback talent. They do have some holes to fill, so it's going to be quite interesting to see what exactly they do. Number 21 and number 22 are the Gladiators. Again, they had some holes. I think they're trying to not do a rebuild, but try to revamp this team that's kind of aged out a little bit. And then the last two are the Las Vegas Lightning and then the San Francisco Dragons. Again, the Lightning have a solid team, but they need some more work on that framework of especially on the offensive side and just some star talent on defense. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. The Dragons finally sneak in at 24 to have a draft pick. Now, Montana Young, they've been going through some coaching changes when it comes to coordinators. I think they found a good offense. J.C. Riley at quarterback is still fantastic. He's moved past offensive playmaker, is now a solid quarterback. And that defense is still good. It's aging, but it's still really good. So that is going to be the FFL draft lottery after the trades. And now we're going to see the trades that did happen right after the lottery. So, this is what happened. The Cavalry traded Darren Morris to the Warthogs for a season 17 draft pick. And that's it. Darren Morris, it's not that he wanted out, but he even said it's not because of bad coaching. Cameron Scullin is still one of the most favorite coaches to play for. He just said that basically last season he lost a lot of value when it came to money because he was injured for the first part of the season, and then when he came back, and like Reed Weathers was also injured for a little bit of the time, so he had to play a little injured. He didn't really play well by himself. He had some really good runs that went really far, but he kind of lost that speed and motivation. He was trying to save it to win a title, which he hasn't won yet until this past season. And then in the playoffs, he went crazy as Reed Weathers kind of dwindled because he got a lot of the share. He went and just completely destroyed in the playoffs. And also the Boston Cavalry had one of the best running teams in the league, if not ever, because they had 3,000-yard rushers in Jackson Thomas, Darren Morris, and Reed Weathers. We don't really see that often. So they decided that they were just going to run with Reed Weathers a lot, and they kind of liked the speed in Sean White. So they traded him to the Warhogs, and everyone knew that Morris wanted out, so it was just kind of like, what can I get for them? The Warhogs offered the season 17 pick, and they just automatically took it. Then, using that pick, Bryson Favors, who, if you guys were in the Discord over the season, in the weekly news, he was not happy in DC. I mean, he's one of the best edge rushers in the league, especially in a 4-3. With Boston, he's gonna move inside a little bit more, but still, Favors is one of the best DNs in the league for sure. And he just didn't want to, and he came up as a free agent. And DC, the problem is Favors wanted out, and DC didn't want to let him go for nothing. So basically the commissioner and Favors and the Demons all worked out a plan that Favors would finish the season, and then they did the whole deal where the Demons used their draft pick tag, which means a team can use their draft pick, because everyone at least gets one unless it's traded away, to keep a player from going to free agency. So they did that, and then they immediately traded him. It looked like for a while, Favors was going to go to Detroit. But at the last second, the Cavalry put in an offer, and they took it because it was the best offer, and it worked with the Demons roster. the Demons get strong safety Chris Judy, who came out of nowhere last season and became one of the best strong safeties in the league when it came to tackling. And on top of that, the Cavalry will give up one of this year's season 15 picks, the season 17 pick they got from the Warthogs, and a season 18 pick. So now you have Johnson and Favors, and then on the inside you have Bear Calhoun, and then you have Ahmad Rice on the edge. This team is crazy. Not including, they also have Cal Herbert, who was on the inside, moving to the outside linebacker, who they probably will blitz on heavy blitzing plays. So the Cavalry are stacked. They just won a championship, and now they look even better. But there are rumors that they want to get rid of Xavier Speed Gonzalez, who, if you remember, was our best slot receiver, because they want to involve their tight end way more and try and run the ball more and use a lot more like crafty plays with Reed Weathers. So that is a rumor that is out there. Then also, CB Marion Ray, he is an all-star. I mean, he was a star player for the Wolves back in the day, if you guys remember all the way back then. He was also a really good player for the Gladiators and for the Cavalry for a long time. Well, he was just on the Gladiators, and he did not like where the Gladiators were going, so he wanted out, and he got a trade to the Walleyes for a season 15 and a season 18 pick. And then lastly, running back Mushabi Hunt gets out of the Gladiators too, due to his lackluster performance this past season. Goes to the Monarchs, and they're going to move him to fullback, and they did it for a season 15 pick as well. And that's why the Gladiators had so many picks. Now, let's get to the series review, as we're going to announce the next team. Series review time. So, what is next for the series? Now, my plan is, after I finish season 20, I'll probably take a break from this series, just due to the fact it would be 20 seasons of it, and that's a lot. And maybe if 2K23 becomes big, or at least a little bigger than this series, I can run with that for a little bit. Now, 2K23, I've already put out the video for it, as a little intro part. That will also have players from this series in the draft classes. I'm probably going to take 5 stars from the APF thing and put it in there, just to kind of have a whole new universe with a unique tinge on it. But for this series, we spent 7 seasons in Sacramento, won a couple championships, I believe, or at least one. I think it was one championship. Then with the Dragons, we won multiple championships. We also, for a bit of time, went undefeated and went like over 20 or close to 30 games in a row we won. Very special time there. That was the Montana Young era. Montana Young is still with the Dragons. Then we went to Boston. Took over Kim and Scalone, getting the head coaching duties due to Bill Gable being kicked out. We somehow had Jackson Thomas fall in our laps due to him being young and athletic and just really working hard to become a great quarterback, and he did. Our defense grew, everyone grew, but we won a championship, and the team got better. Not super excited to play with Boston anymore, honestly, because they are just too good. Angel Lopez, we got for basically nothing. Star receiver. We have star receivers all over the place. Star running back, star fullback, star quarterback, star defense. I mean, we were aggressive with Cameron Scalone because he wanted a championship, and he got it. Probably gonna suck in the next few years as they start losing some talent, and they don't really have a lot of draft picks. But Boston, I mean, it was unique. We had a different style of play than other seasons, especially because both the Sacramento Wolves and the Dragons were spread-type teams. So what's next? Well, there's a team I've always wanted to be, but they've always been too good. And technically, it's a going back to where this all started. 16, well, I guess it'd be 15 seasons ago, Montana Young was a offensive coordinator with Chris Young on this team. Chris Young, the franchise, who's now, with the Monarchs, he was a star athletic quarterback, offensive playmaker, and they were very close to winning a championship, and then Montana Young left. This team then failed with Chris Young, got him injured, shipped him off, and then ever since, they've been kind of up and down, and even if they've went a couple years ago, this new team has went all in, got a stacked defense, a stacked offense, and they still couldn't make it. They even had a player win multiple MVPs, but now he's aging, and there's really one more run with that player, and this is that team. Welcome to Carolina. Carolina has one of the richest histories in this league, and the Crusaders, they've been a team I've wanted to use for a long time. And technically, like I said, that's where we started, with Russell Grimsey at guard, who's one of the best guards for a long time. Offensive playmaker Chris the Franchise Young at quarterback. They had Tampa Moss. They had a couple just amazing players. They always lacked a good defense, though. They couldn't do anything. But here we are with Carolina, and the big story is their head coach was forced to retire due to having a humongous, awful heart attack. He can't coach anymore. So the head quarterback, EZRA Starr, who is, multiple-time MVP, has got a player who actually came in for the Crusaders years ago in Clinton Benulis. If you followed my first season with the Sacramento Wolves, he was our quarterback for that season. He got a name because he came in when Chris Young got hurt, and he did really well with Carolina and Montana Young. So when Young left, Benulis left, they went to the Wolves. Now he became a backup quarterback after a while. He was then with the Detroit Firebirds for a long time as a backup quarterback to Neve Watts, who he was a backup quarterback with Sacramento as well. And he worked on Neve Watts with his accuracy. And then when Watts then not really graduated, but he ended up going to EZRA Starr's quarterback camp, where Benulis also worked with, and he is now the most accurate quarterback in the league. Same thing with Jackson Thomas and Terrence Thomas. Benulis worked with them while they were at the EZRA Starr camp. And a bunch of quarterbacks, Lowry, and a lot of them, honestly, have all come out because of Clinton Benulis helping them. And so now he's finally being pushed into a head coaching spot. But here's the issue. The old head coach was looking to rebuild. So he has shipped off a whole bunch of star talent, and you'll see that in next week's video in the trades after the draft. We've lost a lot of people, but we've also traded for, this is two people you'll actually see later, in star receiver Ed Council, who was a star with the Bullheads with EZRA Starr way back 15 years ago, or I guess 14 years ago, however long that would be. And then Reed Moran, who is a star blitzing linebacker with Milwaukee, and before that, Philadelphia. So, let's introduce you to the star players. I know I just talked about them a little bit here, but I'm going to introduce you to the star players left on the Crusaders, and also update you right here that our star CB, Leonard Selvey, who is the best CB in the league, is holding out. He wants gone from the Crusaders. He's done wasting his prime, and he wants to go. So there might be another big trade of a big name of the best of a position this offseason. But let's look first at our star quarterback, EZRA Star. Here with him, he was a star quarterback for the Bullheads way back in the day. He actually took them to a championship, and I believe they won, if I remember correctly. If not, they lost. So, but I know he definitely took them to a championship. Now, Star, he had a lot of issues with drugs, and he ended up falling off very young and retiring from the league. He picked himself back up. He actually he went to church, and then on top of that, just recently, when he came back into the league, he created a foundation with his church where all of his money that he makes while he plays is actually going to the community in Carolina. So that's very interesting. Also, EZRA, he came back through developmental while its first year's opening up, and he won MVP after MVP after MVP in developmental, actually holding back Brand McWilliams from winning any. He then comes into the league and immediately becomes the best quarterback in the league. I mean, he's slinging like he used to. I mean, he has a good arm, not a crazy arm, but a pretty good arm. Able to read defenses, and just being able to manipulate the pocket. EZRA Star is awesome, but the issue is he's old. I mean, right now he's 38 years old. He says he has one more run in him, so about, he said 4 to 5 more years, he said. Now, there's a possibility he might miss some games this season, just to try to let him heal up, because he knows it's a rebuild year, but he said he's going to try. But yeah, EZRA Star, a star quarterback here in Carolina, and he's a lot different than we usually have. I mean, with Sacramento, we always had at least athletic quarterbacks that could run when needed, and then with both Boston and with San Francisco, we had offensive playmakers at quarterback. So it's very interesting to see a pocket-heavy quarterback being our star quarterback, at least for right now, but probably for the whole series, in Carolina. But now let's look at another star player on the offense, wide receiver Ed Council. Council was drafted to the Bullheads and actually went to the championship game with EZRA Star. They have remained very close over the years, and as Ed Council had bounced from, he stayed with the Bullheads for many years, even had Al Frills at quarterback. He didn't want to leave Frills, so they both went to Philadelphia for a hot sec, and they played, I believe it was 1 or 2 years there together, and then Frills left to go to New York to play at his hometown. And then Council stayed, and then Council then went to the Chicago Tigers, and all this time he's still one of the best receivers in the league, and now we have just traded for him from the Tigers, but we'll get into it next video. But yes, we have a star receiver. He's not a deep threat, but he can get open. Linebacker Reed Moran. He's a old linebacker, like a decade plus in the league. He has never been the fastest, but he's a very strong linebacker. He's actually known to blitz up the middle of the field, almost like Ty Banks is known for that too. He's able to power centers over just because they're not really looking forward to him blitzing through. Moran's also a really hard hitter and a very solid tackler. Moran isn't like a big name. At one point, he was one of the best linebackers in the league. Very underrated. Very under-athletic. Like, he's not very athletic whatsoever. But his brain is very advanced on defense. He's able to read offenses very well. And he kind of plays what he wants to. If he wants to blitz, he'll blitz. If he wants to play zone, he'll play zone. And we're going to be running a 4-3, 3-4 multiple hybrid defense. So it's going to be nice for him to be on the edge or be in the middle or even come down. Like, it doesn't matter where he's at. He's going to fit whatever defense we want. And we're going to try to work out a defense with so many open holes. I think there's going to be a lot of undrafted guys coming in to help us out. And then lastly, the last star player we have is running back Angel AIKENS. We meet again. He is a star running back. I believe because of consistency, he leads the league in rushing and career yards because he's had so many 2,000 plus seasons consistently. He's now consistently at like 12 to 1,500. I mean, he's 15 seasons into his career. He's starting year 16. Same thing with Ed Council. I mean, that whole year was full of star players. But Angel AIKENS, again, I mean, he started with DC, with the Demons. He then went to, I believe, Sacramento. And then he went to the Bullheads. And then he went to the Lightning. And then he went to, I want to say, Philly at some point. He's pretty much been on half the teams in the league. And he's found his way to Carolina in the last couple years. And he's having a good career so far here in Carolina. He's lost a lot of speed. He's never been the fastest running back. But, I mean, if you look, there's a season with him in Sacramento where he ran for over 400 yards in a game. We're not going to see that anymore from him. But he's really good at stiff arms, and he's really built up his strength in his body. So he's able to really power through the middle. Now, he's not a great power back by any sort, but he is a star back, and it's going to be very interesting to see what this team will do. Now, that will be it for the offseason part 1. Be on the lookout for NFL 2K23, and also in the description down below, there is the Discord and the Patreon. I will see you guys next week with part 2 of the offseason. Peace.